Relatively late in his life, after he had moved to America and after he had become the most famous composer of his time, Stravinsky started to get interested in 12-tone serialism of Schoenberg and Webern. Starting in 1952 and for the following 16 years, Stravinsky refashioned himself as a serial composer, and his music incorporates serial thinking in a variety of fascinating ways. One of his early pieces in his new style was the Three Shakespeare Songs from 1954. The second song in the set comes from Shakespeare's play The Tempest. It is already a song, sung there by an airy spirit named Ariel. He is telling another character, falsely as it turns out, that his father has drowned, that he lies 5 fathoms under the water, that his bones have been made into coral, that his eyes have become pearls, that everything about him has been transformed into something rich and strange, and that sea nymphs will be tolling funeral bells for him. We'll focus on Stravinsky's setting of the central lines. Of his bones are coral made, those are pearls that were his eyes. Nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Let's start by looking at Stravinsky's sketch for the melody. He starts out by writing out an E-flat minor scale. Then he arranges the scale as a melody for the first line of text with lots of wide intervals. It sounds like tolling bells. For the next 4 lines of text, Stravinsky begins to compose serially. Of his bones are coral made uses the 7 notes of the E-flat minor scale arranged as a 7-note series. The next line of text is the retrograde, the same 7 notes heard backward. Then, the inversion of the original series, starting on their shared first note, E-flat. And finally, the inversion of the retrograde, starting on their shared first note, A-flat. Stravinsky is working with a quartet of series forms, a prime at its inversion, starting on their shared first note, and the retrograde and its inversion, starting on their shared first note. We'll talk in a moment about these series and these melodies, but now let's listen to this part of the song. You'll hear the instrumental accompaniment for flute, clarinet, and viola, but I want you to focus on the melodic line as Stravinsky has sketched and elaborated it. The 7-note series arranges the notes of E-flat minor into a converging wedge. The melody wedges inward toward its concluding note, A-flat. The melody is thus audibly symmetrical around A-flat. If the P form wedges inward toward A-flat, then the retrograde will have the same 7 notes, now arranged as an expanding wedge, wedging outward from A-flat. The inversion replaces C-flat with C natural and is arranged as a wedge contracting inward toward B-flat. It has 6 notes in common with the other series forms. The inversion of the retrograde takes us back to the notes of E flat minor and back to a wedge expanding outward from A flat. This is what is called diatonic serialism. It's based on a diatonic scale, the E flat minor scale, but the notes of the scale are arranged and treated as a series. Schoenberg writes 12-tone serialism, and his basic harmonic unit is the aggregate of all 12 tones. Stravinsky, at least in this piece, writes 7-tone serialism, and his basic harmonic unit is a diatonic scale. The accompanying parts mostly play forms of the series. In this passage, the voice sings the P form of the series, and the viola imitates it in strict pitch and rhythm canon 1.5 beats later and an octave lower. The clarinet has the IR form of the series, which contains not only the same 7 notes as the P form, but also lots of smaller segments. The result is a dense contrapuntal web, full of intertwining voices and canonic imitation between the parts. Because there is so much imitation and repetition between the parts, the cumulative effect is a sort of diatonic wash from which Stravinsky's melody and Shakespeare's beautiful text gently emerge.